Yesterday I threw a lot at you guys about building a walking bass line. Now, the biggest difference in walking bass lines for the blues and jazz as opposed to walking bass lines in rock is that in blues and jazz, your walking bass line is continuously morphing, continuously changing. You're not playing a solid written out bass line. If you do that, people call you out on it. People think negatively of you for doing that because that's not what the blues and jazz is. But with rock music, punk, pop, whatever, if it's based in the blues, you have a much, or it's a walking bass line, you have a much more simple and repetitive bass line. One of the more effective techniques and more practiced techniques that I've seen in walking bass lines related to rock and pop music is simply doing a walking arpeggio bass line. Alright, and basically all that means is if you have a chord, you're just playing all the notes that make up the chord. Like I said yesterday, most of 99.99999% of the major chords that you see are dominant chords. You have a major third triad coupled with the flat 7 creating the tritone between the major third and the 7th. But it makes an effective walking bass line pattern. Just did 4 measures, quarter note to the beat, playing only a C dominant arpeggio. Root 3 5 7 root 3 root 7 5 3 root 7 5 3 5 7 root 3 root of the next chord. You could, just because there are sevenths involved doesn't mean that you have to play the 7th. You could come up with a bass line that's just 1 3 5 or 1 5. So, walking bass lines in rock are tricky in that you want it to serve the song and not step over the song, but you also want it to be in the same fashion as the rest of the song and have a repeating part. Whereas if you were playing blues, straight up blues and or jazz, it's something different. Like, what I just showed you here. Okay, that changed up, but I wouldn't, the next time I get to that C, going from the 4 measures of C to the F, I wouldn't play what I just played there if I was really playing the blues or jazz. I'd probably change it up to something like bum 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 bum. So you gotta be careful, because if you say you can jam on the blues, jamming on the blues in rock is much different than jamming on the blues in a blues or in jazz. But since we're jamming on the blues in rock, you're allowed to do much more repetitive things. So, keeping to an arpeggio. If it's a 7th arpeggio, root, 3, 5, and whatever the 7th is, but doing root 3/5 octave is just as, if not even more effective, because the 7th creates tones that may not line up melodically with the chords in a rock song. And that's more important in popular music. What lines up and sounds good melodically and harmonically than what the actual music theory is. I mean, blues in rock is blues in rock. That's what rock and roll was. It was 12-bar blues stripped down. And repeating over and over again. But you didn't have minor 7 flat 5 chords in Elvis Presley. You don't have all that much. You don't have that many diminished or augmented chords in you don't see a diminished or an augmented chord in just about anything from The Clash. You don't see a diminished or an augmented or a minor 7 flat 5 chord in anything from the Reverend Horton Heat. So it's a fine, careful line, but keep it simple, keep it melodic, and the half note, whole note resolution, like going to a target note like this, make sure that it can resolve in a way that it's easy on the ear. That's pretty much all I got for right now. And I hope it made sense.